Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and all of my cold season veg, let me bring it a little closer. All of my cold season veg is ready to go out finally. So this is lettuces. I've got a couple different varieties. I've got some Bauer lettuce here, some little gems, and then in my other tray, there's some broccoli and cabbage and spinach. So it's prime time to get this out. And several weeks ago, I built the low tunnels. Let me put this down. I built my low tunnel here just to make sure I warmed up the bed and for cover, because I'm planting a little sooner than you normally would in a zone 6A climate. So I'll put the cover back on as soon as I get everything planted, and it's a beautiful day. I wish you could actually, I don't know, maybe you can hear it, but there's a soft hum going on overhead. My pussy willow trees, the catkins are just covered in pollen right now, and there's honeybees all over it, and their pollen sacs are just loaded. They're bright yellow. It's beautiful. I love those trees. But anyway, back to my raised bed. So I've got cold season veg. I just planted my mini pak choi in one of my smaller Vigo beds. I'll show you that in a moment. But I'm gonna get all these guys in and watered and show you my process. The difference between planting in a raised bed compared to planting in a larger plot in the ground has to do with spacing. So I fudge a lot on all of my plant spacing. So whatever they recommend on the seed packet, I'm gonna plant tighter than that because space is at a premium here, and I really tend to pack things in. So I'm not too concerned. I mean, I don't want things right up against each other, but I do wanna make sure I'm getting the most out of the small space that I have. So if the plant packet says this lettuce should be planted a foot spacing between lettuces, I'm going to cut that in half and plant really tight. And I'm going to be harvesting these a lot, so hopefully I'll get several harvests out of, like a cut and come again lettuce. I'm going to do the same with my spinach, the mesclun mix. The only thing I'm going to give a little more space to will be the broccoli and the cabbage. Those are bigger plants, so I'll plant those along the back here and give those about a foot spacing. So, and even then, that's pretty tight spacing for a plant like the broccoli or the cabbage that really likes to sprawl. But it works for me. I've done that for years. So those will go along the back, and then all my smaller things like the lettuces, the spinach, radishes, carrots, beets, all of those things will be planted in front of that. So let's get after it. To get started, I like to drop in some Espoma biotone fertilizer. It's an organic fertilizer, and all through the fall and winter, when the soil was still workable, when it hadn't frozen yet, I was taking all of our kitchen scraps, all the fruits and veg scraps, and I was burying it. And I've been a, what do they even call it? It's a technique called composting in place. I've done it for years. That's how I started my flower gardens. I've buried everything that we had that we used in the kitchen, buried all those scraps to amend the soil. And I've continued to do the same here in my raised beds. So everything that I dropped in here and buried last fall and winter before the soil in here froze, most of it has decomposed, and my soil is really nice. But I'm still going to go in and do a top dressing of the Espoma biotone on the surface and scratch that in, and then I'll start laying out my plants. the broccoli and the cabbage in. I gave them about a foot spacing between plants. Now I'm going to go and put my Bauer lettuce in. This is an oak leaf lettuce, and it's also an All-America Selections winner. So if you're not familiar with them, I'm also going to link to them in the description below so you can see, check them out. They are a really great resource for home gardeners, and they pick vegetable, herb, and flower winners every year, regional and national winners. So Bauer lettuce was one of the, I think it might have been a national winner. I'm not sure, I'll have to check on that, but you can read more about it in the caption. There'll be a link there. But I'm going to give these a 6-inch spacing as well. And yeah, 6 inches all the way around. So instead of having like a foot between rows, they'll just be 6 inches. I've got everything placed about 6 inches apart for all the different types of lettuces and spinach. I'm going to get those in, and then I'm going to finish up on the end with some Easter egg radishes. I got everything in place, lettuce, the spinach, the broccoli, the cabbage, all of those seedlings are planted. But I have one more thing I want to direct sow, and that's radishes. Radishes are super easy to grow and very gratifying because they've got a quick turnover, about a 30-day maturity from the time you plant them to the time they're ready to harvest, about 30 days. So they like the cooler temperature. So I'm going to do 2 rows of this, and the package recommends a 12-inch row spacing. I'm going to cut that in half and do 6 inches, plant the seeds a ½ inch deep, and water it in. I'm going to leave the low tunnel off it for a few more hours and just let the sun hit it, and then I'll cover it for the night because it does get pretty chilly here still in the evening. So, all right, let's plant the seed. And the seed is really easy. It's not like tiny little carrot seeds and all that stuff. They're nice little pellets and easy to drop in. So I'm going to put them about 1 inch apart, and if I drop a few more in the hole and they're too close together, I can always go in and thin them out. So you want about a 1-inch spacing. The thing that I hate about vegetable gardening is having to thin seedlings. It's just such a tedious thing. So if you get your spacing right when you drop the seed in, you kind of minimize your work later on and you don't have to go through and seed. So I do try to make sure I'm spacing these about 1 inch apart so I don't have to do that later. But even if you oversow and you don't mind thinning seeds, you can go ahead and do that, but I just hate thinning seeds. So I'm going to drop these in pretty exact, about 1 inch apart. I have one last thing I want to do in the vegetable garden today, and with the temperatures being so warm here in the Chicago area, I've got about 6 inches of leaf mulch on the top of my garlic bed. So this is a Vigo Garden raised bed. I planted a hardneck variety called Music last fall, and then I mulched it around Christmas time with about 6 inches of leaves, and that was just to help with any extreme temperature fluctuations in the bed. So I don't think I need that thick layer anymore. I'm not going to take all of it out because we're no doubt going to have cold temperatures again. But I want to take a good, probably about half of it out and let the sun get at it a little more. And I don't want it to rot either. And this is really, really damp because we had some rain the other night. So I'm going to go ahead and take about half of these leaves out, and then I'll remove the other half maybe in another month or so. I ended up removing more leaves than I'd planned to. I had about 6 inches on here. I took probably 5 out. It was so wet. We had rain a couple days ago for a few days straight actually. So I don't want things to rot out. So everything looks good though. The garlic looks great. I've got the ends, the edges are planted with ever-bearing strawberries, and everything is looking healthy. So when it comes to my polytunnels, I'm going to leave those off till this evening. I'll cover them again tonight. But when it comes to fertilizing, I won't fertilize again until I'm ready to harvest. I'm an organic gardener, so I like to use fish emulsion. But whatever you choose to use, you want to make sure for leafy vegetables, you're using a fertilizer that has a higher nitrogen content. And if you're not sure what to look for, On every fertilizer packet, there'll be an NPK ratio, and it stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. So your first number is nitrogen. So it'll be a number, a dash, a number, a dash, a number. That very first number is your nitrogen number. So that is the number, you want that number to be higher than the phosphorus and the potash. So look for a higher nitrogen fertilizer, and that's what I'll use. When I'm using the fish emulsion, it's just easy. It's a concentrate, add it to water and fertilize. So, but whatever you choose to use, make sure you're following your package directions, and you want a higher nitrogen content. So the polytunnels, I'll put the plastic back on this evening. The nighttime is still going to be pretty cold. I just want my lettuces and everything to dry out because I watered them. The leaves are a little wet. So let them dry out, and then I'll cover them this evening. Same with the pak choi in the smaller bed. And I just want to make sure that on the warmer days, if you decide to do a polytunnel, you want to make sure you're ventilating, especially on those warm days, because those tunnels heat up so fast. It might be, on a full sun day, it might be 50 degrees outside. It'll be 70 degrees in that tunnel. So it's a 20-degree difference. It's huge. It's amazing just how much warmth those things hold. So on a hot day, I think tomorrow's going to be close to 70. Make sure I'm going to make sure I ventilate for sure. So anyway, I'm really excited about the beds. I can't wait to harvest my first big salad. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.